All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tyler King, the college sports reporter for the Denver Gazette. And yesterday we did a big season preview for Colorado State, and today we're tackling the Buffs. Appreciated Justin Michael from DNVR coming on yesterday to do a nice, long, really good in-depth preview and look at this Rams team and heading into an important 2025 season for Jay Norvell, his fourth in Fort Collins. And now we are in year three of the Deion Sanders era in Boulder. And it's a very, very important one. It's a big one. Coach Prime no longer coaching his sons for the first time ever, really, with Shedeur and Shiloh off to the NFL. You can count Travis Hunter in that group as well because he kind of is viewed as a son by Coach Prime and vice versa. There, Buffs coming off a 9-4 season and a trip to the Alamo Bowl where they obviously eventually lost to Big 12 opponent BYU, who is on the schedule this year, coming to Boulder in about a month's time. Buffs, like I mentioned, losing Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner. Shedeur Sanders, one of the top quarterbacks in the country, and countless other players that have either made NFL rosters or going to be on practice squads. All that is kind of happening this week, and happy for some of those guys to make some rosters, like Jimmy Horn Jr., LeJounte Wester, BJ Green, who is the undrafted guy who made the Jaguars 53-man roster. So happy for all those guys. CU was picked 10th in the preseason media poll. In the Big 12 media poll that I was a part of, that the Tulsa World did. I had Buffs 8th, but in the among the 16 of us that cover the Big 12 and our respective teams, we had the Buffs at 10th in the preseason media poll, which is about where I feel like it would have been if there was a general media poll, but the Big 12 decided to do away with that this year. But looking forward to this season. Tomorrow on the channel, I'll have a video previewing specifically the game against Georgia Tech for Friday night, so you can look out for that on the channel tomorrow. But today is going to be more of a general preview, a general look at this 2025 pretty new look CU team, even though the coaching staff is really the same for the first time under Coach Prime, who's got the same coordinators back for a second straight year. But the roster looks pretty different, even if there's a handful of key contributors on both sides of the ball coming back that should be were big players last year and will be again this year. And to do so, to preview this 2025 season, we've got the most well-known person on the CU beat, and that is Jack Carlough from Buffs on SI. Jack, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you, Tyler? Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been a fun couple of years with Coach Prime, obviously, and covering everything. As you said, obviously a huge year coming up. Excited to see how Friday goes and really the season as a whole.
Yeah, you were a student during this time, but when I got on the beat for the first time during that 2022 season, I couldn't have expected what was to come. I my job existed before Coach Prime got here, so I was just covering a very bad Buffs team and covering the Rams as well, and not traveling at all. And everything quickly changed once Deion showed up and made this kind of a national story here in Boulder. But like I said, Buffs kind of coming off a really impressive season. I mean, if you look at it, Coach Prime has more than doubled the win total in each of his first two seasons, going from 1 to 4 wins, 4 to 9 wins last year. Can't double it this year. The max games you can play is 16 in college football, even as expansion in the playoffs has been taking place. But this kind of, what was your main take before we dive into this year's team? What was your main takeaway from last year with obviously Travis winning the Heisman? That was a huge story all season long, but just kind of what was it like for you to kind of cover that team last year?
Yeah, I would say at least defensively, I was pretty impressed with just how that front line kind of took control and managing the run game for the most part, minus 1 or 2 games there against the Kansas.
Minus the Kansas game. Yeah.
But it's really impressed how like Warren Sapp handled that D line, at least with the pass rush. And then overall, just a statement year for the Buffs to prove that Coach Prime's approach of attacking the transfer portal hard can work, at least for a year there. We'll see how this year goes. But obviously proved a bunch of people wrong, done that the past 2 years, really. Getting the first Heisman Trophy winner at the school in about 25 years or 20 years, I guess, was incredible. Overall, a huge step forward for the program.
Yeah, it's like I said, we'll run through some of the top storylines here before getting into some more nitty-gritty prediction kind of stuff. But obviously, I mentioned this is Coach Prime's first year without his sons on the roster, and it definitely seems like a different Coach Prime this summer. Obviously, going through all that he went through with battling and beating bladder cancer kind of changes your perspective a little bit. Just kind of what seems different to you about what Coach Prime has been like to be around in these couple months getting ready for the season here.
Yeah. Coach Prime has said it a few times, like instead of having to be a coach and a father, like he can
Yeah.
just be a coach. I think that will help a lot, I guess. I mean, we'll see. Obviously still, super close with a lot of players that have been with him even since Jackson State. Yeah, I mean, he's proven that, he didn't just come to Colorado to coach his sons. In a way, he's, committed to building this program in the long term. Now entering year 3. And yeah, obviously the cancer diagnosis was scary. We didn't know what was going on at all for a couple months there over the summer. Yeah, it sounds like he just has, kind of like a renewed sense of gratitude in some ways just for being a coach. And I think with that too, I think we'll see an energized and motivated Buffs team on Friday with, Coach Prime on the sideline after everything he's been through.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see kind of how that fuels this team going forward. Obviously, no Ralphie to run behind on Friday with the news yesterday. That's gonna be a little bit of a wrinkle, not having the live mascot there to run on the field before the game. But looking at this team, it's obviously a new look offense with Caden Salter officially the starting quarterback. I mean, that was kind of assumed. Even Coach Prime said yesterday that you guys knew that Caden was going to be the guy. It kind of was trending that way the last 2-3 weeks of fall camp. It's kind of a new look running back room as well with 2 returners, but I mean it's a little bit of deeper room this year. O-line's got 4 new starters up front, brand new crop of wide receivers, some guys that were here last year but stepping into much bigger roles with the absence of 4 guys that were off to the NFL. What just kind of sticks out to you about this offense? Do you really feel like it's going to be a brand new kind of look very different unit? With obviously Caden Salter is a dual threat guy. He's been a prolific player the last couple of years at Liberty, and it seems like his legs are going to be a real weapon for this offense, and they might actually lean into the run game after just kind of talking about it the last couple of years. I don't think they're going to be last in the country in rushing like they were in 23 and 24.
Yeah, it has to be different with Caden Salter and just his strengths. Yeah, there'll obviously be big problems if they utilize him the same as Shedeur as just a pure pocket passer. I don't think that's going to happen. But I mean, just Caden Salter's strengths are, really in the play action game. He really thrives there. But to allow him to thrive in the play action game, they have to get that run game going. And a lot of that will be determined by how well the offensive line meshes together. As you said, new look group there. But yeah, if they can get the run game actually going here in year 3, that will open up everything for Caden Salter. And, they still have the talent at wide receiver to, make big plays there. Excited for Omarion Miller now that he's healthy. Getting got the talent out wide, but same story. Kind of just got to establish the run game first to allow Caden Salter to kind of reach his full potential.
What's your confidence in the new look O-line room? Because obviously Jordan Seaton is back after being a freshman All-American last year. I mean, Pat Shurmur said it the other day to us. He was their best offensive lineman by far, last season, and he looks like he's on a path toward being a first-round draft pick in the NFL. And now he's got 4 new starters next to him. A lot of experienced guys when you got like Xavier Hill and Zy Chrysler at the guard spots. Larry Johnson is still kind of a relative unknown. He played mostly on special teams at Tennessee the last couple of years. And it seems like Zarian McGill is going to be the starter at center, at least for week 1. Just kind of who sticks out to you among that O-line group as they kind of look to be more of a dominant presence this season?
Yeah, I mean, at least among the new guys, seems like Xavier Hill might be the best, kind of an interior guy. Seems like he kind of has one of the better resumes against the new guy, but among the new guys. But personally, I think Larry Johnson at right tackle, just his size, just giant dude.
Yeah, he's a mauler is what Gunnar White said about him. Yeah, a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Mauler in the run game. That's going to be huge if that comes to fruition this season. He doesn't have like a ton of experience. You're actually playing offensive line. As you said, a lot of special teams work at Tennessee. But, if they can maximize his size and, get kind of the outside run game going with him there, so you could have one of the better kind of offensive tackle combinations in the Big 12. But again, we'll see. And Jordan Seaton's, obviously, he's headed to the NFL draft after his junior year, at least. But it's good that they get 2 years of him.
Yeah. I have a lot on both those guys coming in. We have a big CFB college football preview section coming in Thursday's Denver Gazette, and my main story is going to be on Jordan Seaton as kind of the new face of the franchise kind of thing in the absence of Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. But I also in there have a story where I list the 10 most important players 5 offensive, 5 defensive players for on-field success for the Buffs this year. And I did include Larry Johnson, the right tackle, because I've been impressed with what the little we've seen of him kind of in fall camp. It seems like he's kind of taken that right tackle spot and run with it. And I agree with you. Like you said, if he can be a consistently solid presence at that right tackle spot, see, you could have one of the better tackle combinations, not just in the Big 12, but, in the country with how good Seton is. So that will certainly be a key position to watch if Johnson can be a consistent starter. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was, because you mentioned the defense kind of and what you were impressed about last season. Obviously, Robert Livingston was one of the top coordinators in the country last year right away. Coming in was a Broyles Award candidate, just kind of quickly revamping this defense and building it around the strengths of his players. What are you looking for year 2? Because obviously he has said he likes to build his defenses around his playmakers, let guys kind of coaches it like a basketball team and get his shooters shots kind of thing. It feels like it's going to be led from the front again with the depth and experience you have coming back there. You mentioned Warren Sapp as well being a key piece to that. Just kind of what excites you about seeing what Rob Livingston does with year 2 here.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the defensive line, it's going to look fairly similar to last year, at least kind of like in projected starters. So I think that group's going to be solid again.
Yeah.
Excited to watch DJ McKinney, his second year in Boulder, another guy with NFL potential.
Could easily be a first-round pick a year for next spring. Yeah,
if he really puts it all together. We'll see how much teams attack him this year, and then I guess with like defensive like game planning and schemes, like I'm curious how much they'll continue to play man defense. I mean, last year at DJ and Travis. Got to play man with Travis, I feel like. So
yeah, Preston Hodge in the slots he loves to play man coverage too. So it'll be interesting, like you said, with that CB2 spot is kind of wide open with Tion Parks and RJ Johnson battling for that. That could affect how they want to play defensively.
I was surprised. I think you asked Kevin Mathis about the cornerback 2 spots, and I was a little surprised maybe that RJ Johnson was also battling for that spot.
Yeah, because I had mentioned, I asked him, was he didn't really specify which guys, the 2 guys are battling. And I thought it was Tion and Tyrekus Davis, the Wyoming transfer. But he mentioned, no, it was RJ Johnson and Tion that were battling for that spot. So I thought Tyrekus might be in there too. It's all 3 of those guys I could see playing there regularly at some point during the season.
They're going to be key too, especially because when DJ, you're going to be locked down. I don't think teams are going to go to him too much. We'll see.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of pressure is going to be on those guys. Maybe not so much against Georgia Tech with just who Haynes King is, but once we get more into like Big 12 play. Also with the linebacker room, that's also a bit of a question mark right now, I feel like. Looks like Martavius French and Reggie Hughes are probably going to get the start on Friday.
I would be surprised if it's anybody else. But, I mean, Jeremiah Brown seems like he's had a pretty good camp. He could factor in there as well. I mean, Coach Andre Hart has liked to rotate those guys, especially early in the season. So I would imagine you'll see a couple guys. But, yeah, French and Hughes with their experience probably are the likely starters.
Yeah, just curious how they'll do against Haynes King and really throughout the whole year.
Big test.
Big enough. Yeah. But, yeah, they're proven dudes at the college level, but not yet at the Power 4. But, I think they can get it done.
Yeah, and the safety spots will be interesting as well. It seems like it'll probably be Tawfiq Byard in that Cam Silman-Craig role, and then Carter Stoutmeyer in the Shedeur Sanders role with more free safety, deeper role, which he played, at times in place of an injured Shiloh early in last season. And Tawfiq has gotten a lot of praise from Cam himself throughout the offseason. He's got Cam's number 7, so I think those 2 spots will be pretty reliable for this defense. Do you agree?
Yeah, excited to see how Tawfiq kind of takes on a bit of a leadership role in there in the secondary. And then also with Carter Stoutmeyer, just his second year at safety.
Yeah.
I think last year that proved to be the right decision, moving him from corner to safety. I think he's just better overall suited for that. Now that he's, got a year under his belt there and more comfortable, excited to see how he, works alongside Tawfiq and really kind of anchors the secondary.
All right, getting into some more of the general not prediction stuff, but just looking at the season as a whole, give me your 3 most important games on the schedule for the Buffs. It doesn't have to be the biggest games or the best teams. What are the most important games that will tell us what we need to know about this Buffs team?
Obviously Friday. I mean, every season opener is going to be a giant game, and Georgia Tech's a really tough opponent. We're going to learn a lot, like if this team is actually like legitimately committed to the run. And committed to stopping the run too. That's going to be a huge test. I kind of wish if I could mesh those next 3 games together in a way, like the Houston, Delaware, and
Wyoming. Yeah.
Mesh those 3 together, because those, I mean, if you want to have another 8-ish win season. Those are all have to be must wins.
Yes.
But yeah, in the Big 12 play, curious to see BYU and Arizona State. I guess those will be my other two.
Yeah, I wanted to go a little bit different here with my 3 picks. I did have Arizona State at the end of the year because I do think that could be a winnable game for this team. It's the regular season home finale in the second to last week of the season. But my first game, obviously Georgia Tech. I figured you might pick that one. But I think that's pretty obvious. Just anytime. I mean, just college football in general nowadays, with how much turnover there is on every roster across the country, the season opener is always going to tell you a lot about what the team is going to look like. And I agree with you. If they are able to, I'll have my prediction in our video tomorrow for the game itself. For that game. But if CU is able to come out and play better than I think they will, then I think that says a lot about what this season could be for this team. So I think that's definitely a good pick there. My first game was at TCU in that first weekend of October. Coach Prime returns to the site of that very famous first game of his tenure at CU, where they shocked everybody as 3 touchdown underdogs and beat the defending runner-ups in the country. Although it was a very different TCU team than the one that lost to Georgia in the national championship game, was still an impressive victory. And I think TCU fans are going to be eager to welcome Coach Prime back and maybe get some revenge for that game in 2023. And I think this TCU team is pretty solid. It's a sneaky under-the-radar contender with how good they're going to be offensively. I think Josh Hoover is a future NFL quarterback. I like Sonny Dykes as a coach. They have Andy Avalos, the former Boise State head coach, in year 2 as the defensive coordinator there. I think that'll be a massive game on the schedule. Because I agree with you. I think if CU wants to be a real contender this year, you have to even if you lose to Georgia Tech, you have to take care of business the next 3 weeks against Delaware, Houston, and Wyoming, and even BYU with kind of uncertainty at quarterback. I think that's a game CU kind of has to win, a late night game at home in the Big 12 home opener. And I think that TCU game the following week on the road will tell us a lot about what this Buffs team is capable of, because after that, or starting that week, I should say, the schedule gets really tough with Iowa State the next week in Folsom. Then you have the bye, and then you go at Utah, who everyone thinks is going to bounce back in a big way this year with a new look offense. Before you get into the end of the regular season, like we talked about with Arizona State and Kansas State to close the season. But my number 2 game on the schedule actually is most important game is at West Virginia. It seems weird because West Virginia is projected to be at the bottom of the conference. But the reason I have this game is because there are not that many kind of games you're going to be big favorites in the Big 12 this year, just with how tight the conference is. And even though it's a road game, you have to take care of business in that game. And I think if CU doesn't win that game, we could be looking at a team that is fighting and might need to win one of the final 2 games just to make a bowl. So I think that's why that West Virginia game is so important for this team.
Would you kind of compare that to like the Kansas game-ish last year? I mean, Kansas is better than Wyoming or West Virginia is this year, but sort of like trappish.
It's kind of similar because I mean they should beat Arizona at home the week before, and they have a bye after that West Virginia game. So I don't know if they'll be overlooking West Virginia too much. But like we said, with Arizona State and Kansas State to close the year, that's a big part of the schedule that you have to deal with. So taking care of business at West Virginia, I think, will be important, especially like you said, that Kansas game was the reason they didn't make the Big 12 title game last season. So. If you're in a similar position at the end in November this season, you have to take care of business at West Virginia, even if it's a tough place to play. That's just not going to be a team that is on the same level as you talent-wise, unless this West Virginia team just comes out and surprises everybody, which could make that even a more important game if they're actually really good. So that's why I have that one. And then I did have Arizona State as well, just because I do think, like I said, I think it's a winnable game, even though Arizona State is projected as the top team in the conference coming back, and are a lot of people's picks to repeat as Big 12 champions. Not my pick, by the way. I have Texas Tech winning the Big 12 with Iowa State in the title game as well. I just think Arizona State has a pretty tough schedule at points, and I don't know if they're going to have the same luck in one-score games as they did last year. But if CU is able to kind of get that win late in the season over Arizona State, I think that'll be a nice, impressive end-ish to the regular season for the Buffs and give some positive momentum going forward. So that's why I have that game. Last thing before we get into our actual predictions, what's your best and worst case scenario for the Buffs in 2025? Like, what if everything goes perfectly, what does it look like? And everything doesn't go that great, what does it look like?
Yeah, I mean, I guess best case scenario is I feel like reaching the Big 12 championship game. I think they have enough talent. I mean, again, everything would have to go. They would have to win those, one-score games against
Yep.
like the Kansas States, the Arizona States.
TCU, Iowa State, those are big games for that. Yeah.
It's a tough schedule, but again, very best case, like if Coach Prime is serious about how much better the depth on this team can be, then yeah, I think that's possible. I think it's possible. It'll take luck and some injuries on other teams and stuff like that.
Kind of like last year, where they were in that position where the schedule maybe looks a little bit looked harder at the beginning of the season, and then it kind of eases up at the end of the year with how some teams are performing. Yeah, I agree with that.
Just with like how the Big 12 is right now, I mean, it doesn't really have those like top 5, top 10 teams nationally. So, I mean, I guess you could say like middle of the road AP top 25 teams are.
I feel like there's going to be like 4 or 5, could be even like 6 or 7 teams that's at some point during the year that are in that 15 to 25 range in the rankings. Yeah. I think there could be like 7 teams that find themselves in that spot. And I think consistently the Big 12 will have at least 3, maybe 4 in that 15 to 25 range. I think I agree. That's the Big 12's moneymaker right there, is a 15 to 25 spot in the rankings.
So could be a high ceiling there, because you're not going to get like, there's not like Oregon and I don't know, whoever else, like two like dominant teams at the top who are just kind of a shoe. And like
there's no like guaranteed losses on the schedule either. Like I agree. That's good. Like when the Pac-12 a couple years ago, it's like, well, you're not beating Oregon on the road, and you're probably not beating USC at home. The kind of games like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant there. Worst case scenario, I guess, probably like 4 for this team. I'd say like 6 and 6 ish. Still think it would be a massive failure if they didn't reach a bowl game. I feel like 6 and 6 ish. If that would happen, if the run game really does not come together, like they don't think they have enough talent there, and they just lose those kind of coin flip ish kind of games.
You don't get the Hail Mary versus Baylor this time around.
Kind of those those types of wins. And maybe Caden Salter is not quite ready for Power 4. But yeah, I mean, I don't totally see that happening. I think there's somewhere in between, most likely.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's somewhere in between. I think the ceiling is probably 10-2 in the regular season. I just don't see a way they lose fewer than 2 games. Like, I think the schedule is just too difficult, and the Big 12 is too unpredictable, that I think 10 is probably the ceiling. But I think 10 wins probably gets you in the Big 12 title game for sure. Yeah. So I agree with you there. Like, if everything goes well, if Salter is as good as advertised, I mean, he's tied with Cade Klubnik for the most returning production in terms of total touchdowns among FBS quarterbacks the last 2 seasons, was 66. So he has proven it, kind of, even though if the schedule at Liberty has not always been the toughest. But if he is as good as advertised and as good as CU thinks he is, I think he can lead a pretty prolific offense led by the running game, which would be a fun, refreshing change of pace. And I think he could get them to 10 wins if they're able to win a lot of those close games, beat a TCU, beat an Iowa State, kind of those kind of things.
Just a lot of wins. A lot of matches where they do a 180 of the offense.
Yeah, well, it's kind of Shermer's MO in the NFL is running the ball, so maybe he's getting back to his comfort zone a little bit there too. My worst case scenario, I think the floor for this team is probably 5 and 7. I just have 1 win less. I think there is a chance that if everything goes wrong, they don't make a bowl game. I agree with you. I think 6 and 6 should be the bare minimum for this team, and the expectation for this program should be making a bowl game every year going forward, even though history says that just making a bowl game any year is really good for CU, especially the last 15, 20 years. But I think now with Coach Prime and all the talent they're bringing in on a yearly basis, 6 and 6 should be the worst case scenario for these teams. But I think there's a world where they go 5 and 7 if Salter gets hurt, or like you said, is not as good as advertised, and they have to go to Julian Lewis. Although I think they would probably, in best case scenario, like to limit him to 4 games in the regular season and redshirt him to maintain the extra year of eligibility. Although I don't know if he'll end up needing it. Like, that's kind of the thing nowadays with guys. Like, it's not, redshirts aren't as big of a deal for programs like CU anymore, because unless you're a top program, you're often losing your freshman. You don't play right away anyway, just for a variety of reasons. So, but if Julian Lewis does have to come in and play a decent amount, I think it's just going to be a little bit too early for him. And I think even if he plays well, it won't lead to consistent winning. So I think that's why I have 5 and 7 kind of as the lower case scenario there. Just quickly, just Julian Lewis, what are you hoping to see out of him? Are you hoping to see a decent amount of him? It seems like he's only going to play this Friday if the game is lopsided one way or the other.
which probably isn't going to happen. I feel like
Yeah.
it's really close. I don't think it's going to be like a 3-score game one way or the other.
Yeah, I think Delaware's the first time we see him for sure.
Those next 3 weeks again, Delaware, Houston, and Wyoming. Don't want to like overlook those 3 games, but I think we'll see.
I would be surprised if we see him at Houston. I think that's a decent team.
Their defense is solid. You're right.
I think that's a decent team there. I think the Buffs will win, but I don't think it'll be by a decent enough margin that Lewis will get to come in. But yeah, Delaware and Wyoming, you'd love to see him at least.
Yes. Yeah. And again, I mean, maybe just Coach Prime is just kind of teasing Julian Lewis just so other teams have to prepare for both. I don't know. Maybe that's a possibility. But just what I would like to see out of him is just really just learning from Caden Salter, gaining chemistry with some of the younger wide receivers. So kind of like Draylon Miller, I guess he's a sophomore, but and Quentin Gibson, Quennell Farrakhan, kind of those guys, gain chemistry with them, just really immerse himself in the system. Because he's had a lot of quotes where he's like, wow, this is like a big leap up from high school in terms of play calling and just schemes and the talent he's going up against. So we can just gain comfort there and, have some strong performances against, like the Wyomings and Delawares.
Yeah, it seems like he's had some flashes in fall camp. Like you see the accuracy and the big playability he's got. But but like you said, that's a good point about the quotes he said. Like those are pretty revealing in themselves. It's just like it's more of a jump than maybe he expected. Even though he was able to be here for the spring and kind of get acclimated a little bit extra. It's just you're never going to get used to it fully until you get in the game situations at the college level, especially for a kid that doesn't turn 18 until the end of September. So it's insane. He graduated high school a year and a half early to be on this team this year. So it doesn't seem real, but it is true. All right, let's get into our predictions, man. What do you got for a record prediction for this Buffs team?
Go 8-4. I think that's realistic. Again, kind of in the middle of the ceiling and the floor. But yeah, in terms of like Big 12 play, I think they'll go 2-1 in non-conference. I think that's most people are about there.
You think they'll lose to Georgia Tech, and then beat Delaware and Wyoming, yeah.
Right now I think Georgia Tech, again, just a lot to prove, a lot of unknowns, and Georgia Tech has so many kind of consistencies from last year, at least on the offensive end. So then in Big 12 play, they would be 7-2, which same as last year, kind of like right there. But yeah, I think the losses would come against either Georgia Tech, I think like Iowa State, Kansas State, Arizona, kind of like those 4, I think in there. Again, nothing wrong with 8-4 at all.
Yeah.
Minor, small step back from last year, sort of, at least overall.
But when you lose 2 of the top players in the country, like I think it's even though the depth is better, like I agree with Coach Prime that I think the depth will be better. There's no replacing that kind of star power on, especially for Travis, both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Right now, like the over/under, I think is at like 5.5.
Yeah, it's at 5.5. Yeah, I did a betting preview a couple weeks ago with one of my friends, Caleb Wilfinger. Did a nice look at that, and it's been interesting to see what the markets think of CU. But yeah, I think they pretty safely go over the over/under there.
Yeah, nothing wrong with 8-4. I think a lot of people will be pretty happy with that. And then really next year is kind of when we get a little bit more excited of Julian Lewis. Again, losing a lot of talent.
But they're going to reload every year on the transfer portal with veteran guys. And if they have another year of proof of concept of winning, I think that just kind of continues to increase the caliber of player you're able to attract in the portal. Yeah. I think that just comes with winning, and with winning comes more money and all that kind of stuff in today's age of college football.
Maybe kind of like a rebuilding-ish year in a way,
retooling kind of thing.
Retooling in a way, just to set up really next year. I think there's a lot of options.
Yeah, the 2 years after this with Lewis, with his first 2 years as a starter, I think will be the big years for this program. I agree with that. I've got the Buffs at 7-5. I have them losing to Georgia Tech as well, but then I have them winning 4 straight against Delaware, Houston, Wyoming, and BYU. But that 3-game stretch after that, I see them losing all 3 of those games actually at TCU, Iowa State, and Utah. That's why I said that TCU game is so important to me, because if they are able to win that game against TCU and get to 5-1, that just changes everything, because then you have Iowa State coming to town, and they're likely going to have either 1 loss at the most, and that's a huge game at Folsom Field if CU is in the middle of a 5-game winning streak as well. But I think if they lose at TCU, they'll probably drop home against Iowa State, who I think could make the playoff as well. And at Utah, I think it's just going to be a tough game with that kind of revamped offense. And Utah is always given the Buffs trouble the last decade or so. Last year aside. But then I do think they beat Arizona State at the end of the year, and their last loss, that 5th loss, will be against Kansas State, in the final week of the regular season. If the Buffs are not competing for a spot in the Big 12 title game, it's going to be a cold, miserable day in Manhattan on the day after Black Friday, after Thanksgiving week. And especially if they've already clinched a bowl and they're at 7 wins, like I have them at heading into that game, I don't know if they're going to be as motivated. And I think even though Kansas State lost to Iowa State in week 0, they've still got a pretty good defensive line. I think it'll be a pretty physical, tough battle. And I think just with last year with K-State beating CU at Folsom in a very close game, I think K-State will win another tight one to end the regular season. So I've got the Buffs at 7-5, which I think is a very respectable season. Like you said, with kind of a retooling year, and it's going to probably – Julian Lewis is probably not going to be the guy at any real point this year, barring an injury or some really bad play from Caden Salter. So you're really setting up these next 2 seasons in 26 and 27 where the Buffs are going to go for at least one, if not multiple, Big 12 championships and hope to get a spot in the college football playoff, which I think is the goal for this program and is attainable, especially next season. Like I said, if they're able to reload and build off another pretty solid season here. So before we get out of here, Jack, just give me your offensive MVP for the Buffs, your defensive MVP, and then 1 or 2 breakout stars. You could do one on either side of the ball or just one guy you're thinking of.
Go offensive MVP, Amarian Miller. Nice. Jordan Seaton's also kind of right there too. But
that's my pick, actually, is Jordan Seaton. Yeah.
In terms of like stat getters, I'm
going
to go Amarian Miller, just if he can stay healthy and they get the run game going and actually, open him up. Go Amarian. Just so impressive the past 2 years when just got to be consistent and, show he can do it in practice, take practice seriously. That's the big one. Defensive MVP, go Arden Walker.
Same for me. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Just impressed with how much he stepped up as a leader. I think he's going to get a lot of opportunities there kind of on the end. Just rushing the quarterback. He's shown more than glimpses the past 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, last season he was a really, really good run defender early in the season, and then that translated into more pass rush success, like you said, toward the end of last season, and becoming more of that complete defensive end that I think he'll be this season.
Gotcha. And then breakout to go Micah Welch at
Okay, I like that.
Pretty high on Micah Welch. Was impressed what he did against CSU last year. He's going to get an opportunity to, I think he had like 3 touchdowns last year, maybe.
He'll be the goal line guy probably, for sure.
Kind of guy. I think that'll be good for him. Kind of those short yardage situations. I think Mike is going to thrive there.
Yeah, 3rd and short, 4th and short. He could be that guy, yeah.
And then I'll do a defensive breakout too. I'll go Anquin Barnes. Just
nice.
With how much, again, what Coach Sapp was saying, the way he lost and just moving around a lot better. I think he's going to be really key kind of in the interior defensive line.
Yeah, he's one of the guys I mentioned as the 10 most important in my story for tomorrow. I think he could be he could emerge as like the best interior guy for them, and as a guy that can play every down if they need him to be. Despite the fact that they want to rotate, I think he could be a real star. I think that's a good pick. Like I said, I do have Seaton as my offensive MVP. I think that they're just going to be balanced enough offensively that they're going to be a pretty good passing and rushing team, not superstar or spectacular one way or the other, but I think it's going to be enough that Seaton will get a lot of credit, and I think the film will just show how good he's become already. And I think NFL team by the end of this year, we're going to be saying, oh, the NFL would draft him in the 1st round this year if he was eligible. I just think we're in for that kind of season with Seaton. Like I said, I have Arden Walker as my defensive MVP as well. I consider DJ McKinney, but I just don't know if he's going to get the stats that he did last year with I just think he's going to be similar to Travis, where I think Travis was the least targeted Power 4 cornerback that played a certain number of snaps last year. And I think DJ could be in a similar situation, top 5 least targeted player, in the Big 12, stuff like that. My breakout stars, I actually have Amarian Miller as my breakout star offensively. I don't know if I wasn't know if I can count him as an MVP. I'm not sure if we're going to see the week to week, but I think we're going to see a little bit more consistent flashes from him, because the USC game 2 years ago, the Baylor game, and the Kansas State games last year. Like, I think we're going to see 6-7 games this year where Amarian really kind of shines, and then there might be 2 or 3 where he's kind of invisible. But I still think there's a good chance he's this team's leading receiver. And I think going into what actually crazily will be his senior year next year, I think he's going to be viewed as one of the top receivers, not just in the Big 12, but a potential NFL guy and a guy nationally people are talking about. And then my breakout star on defense, I'm going to go with Tawfiq Bayard. I'm really high on him. He's a sophomore. I think he's really going to fit into this defense nicely and be a guy that Robert Livingston uses to the best of his ability, and kind of fills that Cam Stillman Craig role as kind of like the heart and soul of the defense, but also guys capable of making big plays, whether that's in the run game or getting some timely interceptions, stuff like that too. I think Tawfiq's going to be a real guy for the next couple of years of this defense as well. So those are my breakout stars.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's fair. Don't disagree there at all. Those are good picks.
All right, Jack, that'll do it. That's all I got for you. I appreciate you hopping on to do this. I'm looking forward to the season. It's crazy that it's only 2 days away, but it feels like we've been talking about this season for months, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you are as well.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, excited for Friday. See you there, and a lot of home games this year. So
yeah, 7 of them. It'll be a fun time. So thanks for doing this, man.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Tyler.
All right, that'll do it from today's video. Make sure, like I said at the top, to subscribe to the channel, as always. Like, comment, whatever. All of that is super appreciated by me. Thanks again to Jack for joining me today. Thanks to Justin Michael from DMVR for doing the Colorado State video yesterday. Make sure you go check that out if you haven't. And stay tuned for tomorrow's very specific game preview of Georgia Tech. I had Chad Bishop on from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, covers the Yellow Jackets, on to talk about that game specifically. Got my prediction in there for that, and it'll get you fully ready for the season opener against Georgia Tech tomorrow. So once again, thanks everybody for watching. Make sure to like, rate, review, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for what's next.